In the dead of night in 1871, a force of 600 armed black men moved silently to corner a plantation house, trapping the very terrorists who had been hunting them. What happened when those doors broke open was so explosive, it was systematically deleted from our history books for over a century. The American Civil War was over. 4 million people were now free by law, but lived in a world where their former masters refused to accept that reality. White supremacists, desperate to maintain control, created a shadow army, the Ku Klux Klan. Their campaign of fear was simple and brutal. They attacked under the cover of darkness, targeting anyone who dared to vote, own land, or speak up. Local law enforcement turned a blind eye. The courts offered no justice. For countless communities, it seemed there was no defense. But what the textbooks leave out is that black Americans were not waiting for a savior, they were building an army of their own. These weren't rogue vigilantes. They were official state militia units, legally authorized and led by black officers. Imagine the seismic shift. Men who had been enslaved just years earlier were now captains, lieutenants, and sergeants, with the legal power to arrest terrorists. They didn't seek revenge, they demanded order. Southern newspapers spiraled into panic, printing racist caricatures and screaming about Negro rule. Former Confederate officers warned of chaos. But the truth was far more disciplined. The black militia's sole purpose was community defense. When the Klan rode into areas with a strong militia presence, they were met with organized, armed resistance. This is the part of the story that terrified the establishment the most. President Ulysses Grant took unprecedented action, pushing through the Ku Klux Klan Act. This allowed him to send federal troops to crush the domestic terrorists. But here is the detail often omitted. Those federal forces didn't work in a vacuum. They partnered with the black militias, treating them as allied military units. For a fleeting moment, the United States government was backing armed black resistance against white supremacy. The racial hierarchy of the South was being inverted, legally, and at gunpoint. The oppressors were now facing the people they had oppressed, and those people held the law and the rifles. October 1871, York County, South Carolina. The air was thick with tension. After the lynching of a militiaman, most expected the black community to retreat in fear. But Captain Jim Williams, a former slave, had reached his limit. He assembled his entire company, 600 men, and they began a legendary night march. Their target was the plantation of a known Klan leader. Williams's men surrounded the property with silent, military precision. Then, with a single command, they stormed the house. The doors shattered. Inside, they found 11 Klansmen, the hunters who had become the cornered prey. Not a single shot was fired, but a message was delivered. The raid was a stunning success. 11 terrorists were arrested and handed over to federal authorities. Word of this victory spread like wildfire. In its wake, other black militia captains launched their own operations. In some counties, Klan violence plummeted by over 90%. The proof was undeniable. When they had the means to defend themselves, they could stop the terror. Hundreds of Klansmen were arrested and faced federal trials. Black militiamen took the stand as witnesses, shattering the Klan's myth of invincibility. The original KKK was on the brink of total collapse in South Carolina. It was a triumph of organized, legal self-defense. So why have you never heard this story? Because the sight of armed, organized black men wielding legal authority made too many people in the North uneasy. Political support vanished. Federal troops were pulled out. The Redeemer government seized power and immediately dismantled the black militias, disarming them and arresting their leaders on false charges. The lesson was brutally clear: effective black self-defense would not be tolerated. Captain Jim Williams, the hero of that October night, was murdered by white supremacists in 1872. His killers never saw a courtroom. And then came the final, lasting injustice, the erasure. Historians scrubbed the record clean. Textbooks claimed Reconstruction failed due to black incompetence, never mentioning the disciplined militias that had actually brought order. The narrative was twisted into one of passive victims awaiting white salvation. The truth, that black military organization had crushed the Klan, was a dangerous blueprint they could not allow to survive. The Klan of the 1860s was not simply abandoned, it was defeated on the ground. It only resurfaced decades later, once laws had systematically ensured black communities were disarmed and disorganized. The architecture of Jim Crow was built on a foundation of enforced defenselessness. This isn't a forgotten footnote. It is suppressed history. The story of Captain Jim Williams proves that with organization, legal authority, and the means of self-defense, oppressed people can shatter the machinery of their oppressors. They didn't need permission to be free, they took the power to defend their freedom. And for one brilliant, fleeting moment, they won. If you found this hidden history revealing, give this video a like and subscribe to VQuest for more truths they never taught you.